Prior to April 16th, 2021, a Bronx, New York artist and a Brooklyn, New York artist came together once again with their strong pen and production games and created an album. The album exemplifies music and lyrical flow, complementing each other perfectly. These two artists are Talib Kweli and Diamond D. The album, Gotham, released on April 16th, 2021. Talib and Diamond D, welcome to All Hip Hop Presents Library with Tim Einko. Thank you so much for being here.
What up, though?
Thanks, man. So obviously, prior to this album, you and Diamond linked up on Pharoah Monch's Eternal Affairs, the track "The Truth." What was that kind of that collaboration like? But two, what stood out to you about Diamond's production and even him as an MC prior to working with him?
Well, Diamond is definitely the best producer on the mic. He's somebody who was hugely inspirational to me as my career. He's sort of like an architect for the type of hip hop that I love the most and for the type of hip hop that I do. He's one of the originators of that sound. He invented it. He's somebody who showed me love early in my career. When I was a up and coming MC, he would invite me to his house to work. And so at the time when I was on Raucous, Digging in the Crates had a resurgence, and they were putting out independent 12 inches and projects with fat beats and whatnot. And, Day One and stuff like that. So Diamond D linking up with Pharoah Monch and linking up with Raucous, and Diamond D producing hip hop on Mos Def's album, it made a lot of sense at that time.
Was there a track? I mean, yeah, you did stuff with Ruckus, you did Lyricist Lounge, you obviously did the Black Star album. Was there stuff, or was there a particular track that Diamond did that, that you wish you were, like a kind of a fly in the wall during the production, or actually even something that you had a chance to spit on?
The Stunts, Blunts, and Hip Hop album, for any serious fan of hip hop, that's a blueprint right there. And everyone has their favorite off that album. Day in the Life, Best Kept Secrets, records like that. But for me, it was always I went for mine. The way he flipped that SSO sample, the way that it's such like it's a motivational song. It's like Nipsey Hussle, hustle and motivate energy. But from back then, it's like it just made me want to get up. My name is Diamond. Yeah, you guessed it. It just made me be like, it's the confidence that he exudes on that song. Really helped me as an MC.
Turning the album, and it makes sense when you tell the story. You told the story about how Diamond sent you a bunch of tracks, you spit on all of them, and you think about quality. You're like, yeah, his pen game and his lyrical game is obviously strong. Were these new tracks? I mean, were these new rhymes that you wrote just particularly for the music that he sent, or were there like old stuff that you were thinking about?
Absolutely. I mean, it's very rare these days that I write rhymes over one beat and then fit them to another beat. I don't really do that anymore. I used to do that early in my career, but I find it more rewarding to write to the beats. So when I wrote to those Diamond beats, it was an exercise. I was challenging myself.
How many of those tracks did the album is 10 tracks, but how many tracks did he actually send you, and how many tracks did you write on?
I must have recorded maybe 15 songs for this album, and we put out 10?
10. Yeah. Is the 10, is there a significance to the number 10 for tracks on this album, or just a kind of?
No, that's just what me and Diamond came up with when we made the announcement that we were going to deliver an album to the people. 10 seemed like a fair number.
The first track, Sons of Gotham, you address a lot of things, and you also talk about Kanye West on it. I think a lot of people in music and also in the world were dismayed, apparently, of West's comments or with Trump and standing with Trump. But you have this long-standing friendship with him, and you know him very well. How do we have that conversation with Kanye without, to use back a better term, canceling him out of our lives?
Well, I mean, I'm not a fan of the term cancel culture, and right. I am a fan of holding people accountable for the things they say and do. If someone says fuck Kanye West, right, because of the things he said, right. If someone says I think Kanye West should be canceled, it's not my place to argue with that person, because I understand that some of the things that he said have been extremely harmful to people. Whether he realizes that or not, I understand that. And so I'm not here to chastise anybody for being angry at Kanye. or not wanting to fuck with Kanye no more. But for me personally, the context that you spoke on, well, I can't be that person. I can't be the person who cancels Kanye. I can't dismiss Kanye wholesale. I can't pretend that Kanye hasn't had this huge impact on my career and on me as a man. And I can't pretend that Kanye hasn't helped me as an individual. I can't pretend that I don't think Kanye can make it through this dark place that he was in when he said those things.
Right.
And so as a friend, I take it upon myself to give him the space to fuck up, to give him the space to say things that I don't agree with, give him the space to be a flawed individual and me still be loving towards him. And so that's the way I approach it.
And I think one thing that's great is that you make sure you highlight the artist Kanye in that song, because you said, you say something like, "You haven't made Jesus walks."
That's true, because a lot of people, it's crazy because that song I was talking about literal MAGA hat rappers.
Right.
There's this one guy, Kingface was his name. He passed away. I don't know how he died, but before he passed away, he was spending a lot of time on Twitter trolling me, and Instagram and Facebook, trolling me and trolling other people who are anti-Trump people. And his whole thing was, I'm a black guy. My family are Haitian immigrants. I love Donald Trump. I wear this MAGA hat. And I was angry at Kanye behind this, because I was like, because Kanye is such a cultural icon, he made it safe for people who haven't contributed to the culture in the way that he has to feel like, well, Kanye wore the hat, I'm gonna wear the hat. That's what that bar was about. MAGA hat rappers out here acting like Kanye, but you ain't made Jesus walks, nigga. There's a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna criticize you the same way I criticize Kanye. I'm not gonna criticize Kanye the same way I criticize you, because what Kanye has contributed to the culture, I can't ignore that in my criticism of Kanye.
So is there room? I mean, is there room for that conversation within hip hop to have that essentially both sides of the aisle having that conversation with, you could be liberal, you could be conservative, and you could also at the same time contribute really well to hip hop culture? It's
tough for me. My brother has a book out now called How Rights Went Wrong. And he has a line in the book where he says, centrist Republicans are extinct. Or not extinct. Centrist Republicans are an endangered species. The Republicans that I grew up under when I was a kid, Reagan era Republicans, policy-wise, politically, they were pretty despicable people. But from my recollection, and it could just be nostalgia, but from my recollection, you could still have there's certain decorum in the political space. So even if I disagreed with something that somebody like a William F. Buckley would say, or someone like a Lee Atwater would say, just in the way he presented it, there was a certain decorum there. And there's an argument to be made that polite racism is still racism, right? But the Republican Party they're not even pretending to be the party of conservative values. I'm very much anti-conservative values, right? But conservatives believe, I disagree with them about this, but conservatives believe, they'll tell you that conservative values are family values, traditional family values, taking care of your home, taking care of your family, shit like that. That's hypocritical, but fine. For the sake of argument, let's say that those are what you claim you represent, right? Well, they're not even pretending to be that anymore. The Republican Party at this point is the party of Trump. Look what's happening to Liz Cheney. Look, like, you can't just be a Republican, you got to be a Trump supporter.
Right. And
so because the Republican Party has now become that, well, no, I'm not interested in any conversation with a conservative. I'm not interested in any conversation with a Republican. I don't think that you can say in 2021 that you're a Republican and you love hip hop. Well, I just don't believe you.
Right. And to your point, it's got, I used to work at a podcast network, and we had a right-wing podcast, many right-wing podcasts, and you could even, the line wasn't there anymore between, the right-wing podcast, or like a Sean Hannity and a Trump. I mean, it's become one and the same, so to say.
Yeah.
I want to continue. Hey, Diamond, thanks for joining us, man.
What up, Diamond?
What up? What up? Pardon me. What's going on, fellas?
No doubt. I was just talking about Republicans. Now we can talk about this hip hop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Diamond, I want to talk, and both of you, I want to talk about the track "On Mamas." It's one of the many in the celebration of New York City, celebrating the great.
Which version?
The album version.
Okay. We just put out an alternate version just now.
Oh shit! I gotta check that out. What is at this time, especially, what is the importance for both of you of and as you also travel the world of celebrating New York City and the greatness of New York City?
You want to take it, Tom?
Yeah, for me, especially in this post. Well, we're not post pandemic, but we're post lockdown. For many people, in this post lockdown era, the On Mamas video was recorded like 2 weeks before New York City went into lockdown. So to me, that video takes me back to what New York looked like before the lockdown. And I think that New York will never be the same before the lockdown. When I decided that I was going to do an album with Diamond D, I was like, well, what's this album going to be about? Well, it's going to be about the New York that I grew up in. It's going to be about what we now call old New York. And so that song for me is very important. It might be it's like the second or third song I wrote and recorded. And it's just really about, the first verse is about being in a place that's not New York and wanting to get back to New York. Like me being on vacation in Jamaica and be like, nah, I need that grit and grind from New York City. And that's essentially what the music that Diamond D made that was so inspirational to me was about for me. And so that's what that song is about.
How about you, Diamond?
On Mamas, I mean, yeah, definitely we captured New York before it kind of shut down. But as far as like lyrical content, it's just basically Talib just doing his thing and just talking about just New York City, the historical aspects of hip hop in New York City. And definitely every time I watch that video, I'm like, damn, it's like it's here today and going tomorrow. But I don't know. Maybe we can get back to have a little type of semblance and get back to like some type of normalcy after this pandemic thing.
The track "Pick Your Head Up," Kweli reminds me of your flow on it. Reminds me of your flow on "Reflects the Eternal's Name of the Game." The way you kind of just you switch gears totally, and very much appreciate that. How do you, from an artist point of view, how do you choose your flow depending on what you've written, what the track sounds like, and stuff like that?
I don't choose it. The track chooses it, and that goes back to your question about, do you write somewhere else and then lay it to the track? I used to do that more often. I don't anymore. Now the track tells me what to say.
Right.
And how to say it.
D, do you ever feel the need to? Do you ever have to change the track, I guess, to match the flow, whether it's Kweli or another artist you're working with, or do you let the artist dictate that?
The thing about Gotham that kind of resonates if you listen to it is because he actually wrote to every beat. He didn't. There wasn't a song where a rhyme was forced to a track. And when you write to a beat, you fall into the cadence and the flow of the track. So that's why I think all of his rhymes kind of mesh well with the beats because he actually wrote to them. And I'm the same way. Like if I'm working on a project, I always write to the beat. It's very rare I'll have a rhyme and try to stick it to something. So you could definitely hear it in the flow and the way it's executed when you write to the track.
The track "Chilling While Black" is the subject matter is not celebratory. It's about police brutality, about Black people being killed by police, and but the beat to me is very much horns are going. It's feels very celebratory in that way, right?
Right.
How did that? I mean, it's to the flow and the beat contradicting themselves, so to say. How did that come together? I mean, why did you know, like, all right, this is going to be about police brutality and really depressing stuff, but I'm going to spit and destroy this beat, and this is the perfect beat for it?
Well, I'm glad you picked up on that because that's exactly what my thought process was. When I first heard the beat, it sounded celebratory to me. And I challenged myself to write about police brutality because of the fact that the beat sounded so celebratory. That is really the dichotomy of Black life. Like, we have to say fuck you with a smile on our face, because if we're called angry, that becomes an excuse for the police to beat on us. Right? When you look at the Derek Chauvin trial, the lawyer for Derek Chauvin, what he attempted to say was, look, there were all these angry Black people standing around. Of course, he felt nervous to the point where he killed somebody, because how else would you feel if there were all these angry Black people around? So Black anger, even no matter how righteous it is weaponized against us. And so that's what I was thinking going into writing that track, is that I wanted to show, like, even in the face of adversity, we have to celebrate. We have to celebrate life. The beat is celebrating life, while the lyrics are critiquing the circumstances of our death.
And for you, D, when you hear, lyrical content like that, I mean, you see the track that he's on, do you ever feel the need to, like, well, maybe this is too celebratory in a way, or just kind of where do you go?
Actually, when I made the track, it's definitely celebratory. I didn't really know what Talib was going to write. I didn't get involved in that part of the process, but when I heard it, I thought it was a good contrast to the beat. Like you said, the beat is celebratory, and sometimes you gotta like sort of sneak the content in, grab the listener's ear first, and then hit them with the jewels. And that's a perfect example of that. Chillin' While Black.
Kweli, you've obviously created music. You have 2 podcasts now. You've written a book. What do the podcast and the book do creatively for you that rhyming or can't do? And that what are you finding? And what are you learning about your rhyming and your writing through the podcast and through writing a book?
I learned that I be rapping too much. I spent all this time crafting all these ill rhymes and finding these beats and trying to get people to listen to this, to create beautiful things. And a lot of people are like, oh no, I just want to hear you talk. You know what I'm saying? So that's unnerving for me, but I try to count my blessings. When I said that to Dave Chappelle, who I have the Midnight Miracle podcast, he said, yeah, but Talib, if you didn't spend that time creating those rhymes, if you didn't spend that time making those songs, they wouldn't be interested in what you had to say. So it's part of it. And so I have to remind myself of that. I enjoy it. I am you're a journalist, Tim. You must love being a journalist. I'm a fan of the craft. Right. And I feel honored to be a participant in that space. And also having different revenue streams is nice. Not having to, always put my eggs in one basket.
Right.
What's great about it is that obviously when you guys started out, well, 1, podcast didn't exist, but 2, you didn't really have these conversations in the public with fellow hip hop artists. What is it for both of you about being able to let the public see this?
One quick note. What's interesting is that, and I just thought about this as you said it, me doing the People's Party podcast is the reason why Gotham exists, because I wanted to interview Diamond, and Diamond flew out graciously. Diamond flew out to be part of the People's Party. And it's me wanting to sort of impress my OG when I saw him, that led to me recording on all those beats and presenting it to him. So the People's Party podcast made this album happen, which is very interesting to me.
That's so dope. That's dope. D, you're obviously not just a producer, but you rhyme as well. And we think of the list. High Tech rhymed on DJ High Tech rhymed on Reflection Eternal's album, and Dime Piece, and P Rock rhymes on Sky Zoo's album, and J Live rhymes, and D, you obviously rhyme yourself. So
yeah,
for
but
both
who the best producer on the mic though?
That's what I'm saying. So who Who would you two bring into if you had if there was a rhyme battle? What producer MC are you bringing into battle with you? And D, you cannot say yourself.
Who would I want to be in a rhyme battle with?
Yeah,
Producer though.
producer.
I let the fans decide that.
I would like to see. I mean, to me, it's between Dilla and Hot Tech, Pete Rock, and recently I heard Knots. You know, Diamond D Knots record.
Large Pro.
Oh yeah.
Large Pro, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Alchemist.
Kanye West.
Right. I mean, you know, it's a long list. Even Grand Poobah. People don't really give him the credit as a producer.
Lord Finesse.
Right.
So many.
The fans have to decide that.
You know, you think of dynamic duos, and obviously this album exemplifies you two as being a dynamic duo, but you also think about Outkast, think about Mobb Deep, Gangstar, Eric B. Rakim, et cetera, et cetera. Who are some of your favorite dynamic duos in hip hop of all time?
Gangstar.
Gangstar. The Gangstar is it for me. Gangstar was the blueprint for Reflection Eternal.
P Rock and CL.
Yes, indeed.
Mobb Deep.
Yes, indeed.
Come on, T, help me out.
I mean, what you named it. I mean, Mecca and the Soul Brother. Main ingredient is great. Main ingredient is a slept-on album, but Mecca and the Soul Brother is a cornerstone of how to make a great hip hop album.
Run DMC.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that, but that's more a trio, right? Like, cause you got to include Jay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because Jay's on the. I'm talking about like MCs, but
Outkast,
definitely Outkast.
Would you see Jay-Z and Kanye as a dynamic duo? Would you put them up in that boat?
They need maybe one more album.
Well,
I think.
Yeah,
the Watch the Throne is an incredible album.
Though. No doubt.
I'm a fan of that album.
I mean, speaking of one more album, we got this great album with both of you. I mean, you said there's 15 songs that, total, and I imagine will be more, but is there another album that could be in the works? Do you guys think you guys will go for a full album again together?
I don't know, Diamond. What you think?
I'm gonna send you a new batch of beats. We're gonna see what happens.
All right, bet.
He'll have all the rhymes by the end of the day. There's one more question. I appreciate both of your time. When the album drops, you usually get the album drops, you go on tour, you sell merch, and that's kind of how it goes. Obviously, with pandemic, tours are not happening or slowly starting to come. Now that do you think of post-pandemic and think of how artists should make financial, figure out their finances? What do you think artists have learned from this pandemic in terms of how to make money without having to actually go on tour to make money? I mean, do you think that people have learned what to do as an alternative, or is that still going to be it once touring goes back, that you'll have to go back on tour to make as much money as you can?
It definitely made you get your hustle on, more or less. Once the touring started, then you got to fall back on whatever else you got cracking, whether that's merch, and hopefully, you got your publishing in line. Mm-hmm. Definitely, publishing checks definitely come through. A lot of people started podcasts. Some are successful, some aren't. Shout out to my man Talib and the People's Party. Definitely one of the brighter ones. But yeah, I mean, basically, it made you take a hard look at yourself and your brand, and just get your hustle on. And for me, since I'm self-contained, basically, we made the Gotham album kind of post-COVID and during COVID. Mm-hmm. And when you're a producer, you pretty much can work in your own space anyway. So I'm fortunate enough to have just been able to keep working, basically because I have everything I need in my own studio right here, like a lot of producers. Right. So, in that respect, I'm definitely one of the fortunate ones.
Mm. And for yourself, Kweli, I mean, do you see yourself doing the same as what you're doing, or do you see yourself going on tour more? Or
I see myself working smarter. I echo a lot of what Diamond was saying, and I was the most touring artist in hip hop before the pandemic. I'm appreciating the break, to be honest with you. But when it's time to get back on the road, I now know I can do it smarter. It was scary for me because I toured to that degree because I thought I had to make money.
Like James Brown.
Yeah. I mean, James Brown passed away Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember what year it was, but I was on James Brown last tour. Like we was in Australia. It was Supernatural, Estelle, Bahamadia, and we would all go on before James Brown.
wow.
And I remember watching him, like he was being wheeled around in a wheelchair. I remember thinking like, oh, he gonna literally tour till the wheels fall off. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. And there's a beauty to that, right? Michael Jackson toured to the end. Prince toured to the end. There's a beauty to it, but let's keep it real. They toured to the end for financial reasons.
Right.
And I want to put my life in a place where I want to tour because I want to tour.
Right.
Not because I have to.
Not because you have to, right?
Yeah.
It's true. Talib Kweli and Diamond D or Gotham. Gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being on allhiphop.com presents the library with Tim Heineke. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Tim, no doubt. Peace.